Amy, the Roaming Historian. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm a history professor and a travel blogger, and I pretty much anytime I'm not in the classroom, I'm out roaming around and checking out historical sites and different cultures. If you're coming back, oh, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Both of you, whether you're a newcomer or someone who has already, subscribed, please like this video if you like it. And if you are a newcomer and you like the material I put out, then please consider subscribing. So today I'm going to talk about the popular tourist scams in Italy. Now, I spent a lot of time in Italy. It's one of my favorite countries to travel to. I hope someday to retire there. And I don't see, a lot of reports of violent crime or things like that, but there are a lot of tourist scams. So that being said, let's look at some of them and what we've got going on. Probably the one that you see the most, at least you'll see the bracelets all over the ground, is the friendship bracelet scam. And this is where somebody will, first they'll say to you, hey, very loudly to you, where are you from? Or something to engage you in conversation. If you answer, don't answer, okay? If you answer, hey, I'm from the United States, or I'm from Canada, or, then they'll be like, oh, and then they start talking to you. While they talk to you, they might give you a high five, or they grab and go to shake your hand, grabbing your wrist like this. And when they grab your wrist, they're tying a bracelet on it. At that point, they got you. They say it's a friendship bracelet, and then they ask you to give them something in return. Of course, you don't have to do that. They'll say it's a free gift, but it won't be a free gift. They demand payment, and they can get very aggressive, and it can feel very uncomfortable, especially if you're alone, or especially if it's your first time, you don't know. And I've seen people pay. Sometimes you can rip the bracelet off. It's just best to firmly decline and keep walking. They might offer you a flower. It could be something else. It might not always be a bracelet, but a polite no, grazie. Just just avoid contact. I know it feels weird. It feels weird to ignore people, especially when they're talking to you. But they're not up to any good. So they're not trying to do something, and I think it's okay to be a little rude. Same thing with the helpful stranger. The helpful stranger is all of a sudden you're at the ATM, and somebody's helping you, like they're offering to translate, or I see this a lot at train stations. What they might be doing is an accomplice that might be nearby pickpocketing you while they help, or they could be taking information from you, watching to see what PIN you entered into the ATM machine, or getting your credit card. I only ever, if I need assistance, accept it from somebody who's a uniformed staff member. Always cover your PIN. Look around you, make sure that, I like to use ATMs that are in a vestibule, and then that way I can kind of, have a little bit more added security. If someone gets too close to me, I simply cancel the transaction. I walk away. There's always going to be, I can always go back, but what I can't do is get my, all my private information back once it's been stolen. And so, the helpful stranger is not, why would somebody be doing that? You have to just ask yourself, why would somebody want to just help somebody, especially when you haven't asked for it? So, try to avoid the helpful stranger. Watch the taxi rides. Most taxi drivers are absolutely wonderful, hardworking people, and they're not out to scam you. But occasionally you might get into a taxi cab where the meter's not running. And I just don't do that. Most of them are incredibly professional, but some might claim their meter is broken, or they might want an inflated fare from the airport. If know what is standard. The airport to, like, let's say if we're going for the Rome, from most of the airports, there's a standard official rate. Like in Rome, if you're coming from FCO, Fiumicino Airport, to anywhere within the Aurelio malls in the Rome City Center, it's a flat, as of right now, €55. watch that and make sure they start, I always insist on putting, putting the meter on, and just ask them kindly, can we have this metered? And I also ask ahead of time, how much do you think this is going to cost? And that way, even before I get in the cab, I have an idea of what they're already thinking as to how far we're going to go. You should always use official taxi stands at airports or train stations. And then you can, for peace of mind, you can use, there's apps like IT Taxi or Free Now that you can use. The fake position scam. This is the bane of my husband's existence. This is the one that drives him the craziest. And this is very common near landmarks. I've seen it not just in Italy, I've seen it in France, I've seen it all over. I've seen it in Spain, I've seen it in Portugal. Um, but you'll see this next to landmarks generally or big piazzas, and somebody will have a table and they will come up to you. They might ask you to sign a petition. There's two things that could happen here. One, and these people I see more frequently, these are legitimate. They are not trying to. They're not going to force you. I'll give you the second one in a minute. They're not trying to force you to make a donation. What they're trying to do is tell you a sob story. So they might say, can we get you interested in signing this petition to stop drug abuse? And then they'll tell you, once you sign, now they know you're sympathetic to their cause. And then they'll start telling you sob stories and ask you for a donation. That's the more gentle way. That's the one I see most frequently. Um, things like asking you to sign a petition. Why would you, a stranger in their country, why would your signature matter to their government? It would not. You'll often hear them say, do you speak English? If they were legitimately trying to get signatures to change the norms in Italy, they'd be looking for Italian speaking people who actually vote and are citizens of Italy. The second one is actually quite it's quite more kind of scammier even, because they're not preying on, will you be kind enough to donate? They are asking you to sign a petition that at the bottom in the foreign language says that you will give 20 euros and then, or something of that nature. And once you give 20 euro, or once you sign the petition that you'll give 20 euro, they'll demand that you give 20 euro. And you're the one that signed it. So, what are you going to do? Say that you're not going to. And it could be uncomfortable. If nothing else, these are all things just to avoid just avoid. Never sign anything. Just keep walking. And always hold on to your belongings. I always worry when somebody's yelling to me, unless they literally know my name and it's a friend, I don't respond to people yelling out to me when I'm traveling. I often assume it's an attempt to distract me for a minute so they can steal something from me or pick put their hand in my purse. Which gets me to the next one, the distraction. And what is called the distraction? Because it could be a million things. One of the distractions might be, oh, you've got something on your shoulder. I think a bird poo-pooed on you. And they'll be rubbing your shoulder, but while they're trying to clean you up, they're picking your pocket. It could be accidentally spilling something near you. It could be accidentally taking their baby buggy and kind of, bumping into you. And so the minute you're looking down to try to help this child that is in distress, they're pickpocketing you. So always, watch out for those, watch out for any type of accident. Handle any accidents by yourself. The minute something happens, the minute there's a distraction, immediately grab your bag to you closely. Politely refuse any assistance, just say thank you, I'll take care of it, walk away. But the first thing I do, I say, if you're a man, put your hand on your pocket immediately. I mean, immediately get that hand on your pocket. If you're a woman, grab your bag as close to you. I always use a crossbody bag that is in front of me. Secure that bag immediately. Make sure your phone is secured. Make sure everything that you have that could be stolen at that moment is secure. Next are counterfeit tickets and tours. I hear sob stories all the time. It's so sad. When I'm at popular attractions of somebody who was sold a fake ticket. Many of the top attractions, they sell out, so people are always looking for a deal. And so they're selling them fake or overpriced skip the line tickets or guided tours. These may be official, but they're not. They're often not valid. Places like the Coliseum are requiring that your ticket match your identification, that your ticket name, and things like that. So only purchase tickets through recommended official websites or reputable tour companies. I highly recommend LivTours and the tour guide. And Viator also has many good options, but look for their badge of excellence. Look for something that says this is a better one. I'll have some links below. The next one is really, I see it most of the time in Florence. I've never seen it anywhere else, but it's right here. It's the street art. And this drives me crazy. This is the one that it's the bane of my existence. It's stepping around us, especially if you're a disabled traveler and the city streets are filled with people and you're trying to avoid this art. We're going to put that in quotation marks, which are prints that they have. And people do buy them. I actually see people buying them. If you want to buy your art off of the street, more power to you. I personally, that's not where I want to buy my art. But if you see somebody, what they'll do though is then they try to make you buy it if you step on it. And they put it in places where it's easy to step on because it's in the middle of the street or it's in the sidewalk or, and they'll run as soon as you'll watch them, they'll scramble up and get all the art off the ground before the police come. But there's constantly going on. Another game that we're seeing quite a racket that we're seeing going on for the Cups game, or you might see little boxes. And so what happens is there's a group, the entire group is in on it. And so the group will start pumping up, and they're paying out and they're, okay, I bet 20 euro and ooh, I won, and if what they're doing is they're moving the ball. So they'll show you like a marble or a ball and they'll have either cups as we see down here, or they'll have boxes and they're moving. And it's a quick sleight of hand, right? It's like do. But what happens is somebody is always in on it. Like you've got, so the person who is betting is of course in on it, unless they're the person they're trying to scam. The person who's moving the cups or the boxes is on it. And then they're going to have at least a couple other people. They're going to have spotters. And these people will be in the big crowd that is now, they'll either make the crowd with the entire gang of people, or they're interspersed with actual tourists who are standing there. And so the minute that it'll just be imperceptible, but the minute when you think you've got it and you're going to win, one of them will step into your field of view. And then as soon as they step in, just for a second, all they have to do is go like this. And as soon as they do that, then next thing you know, the marble has moved. You call the box that you thought it was in, it's gone. And so you'll see warning signs all over. The police will immediately try to stop this, but it keeps going. I spend enough time in Italy that I know the people who are doing it. I figured out, and I've watched enough times. I'll just stand there and watch. But they get people excited. The person who's winning, gets everyone hyped up, and then somebody takes their chance. Don't take your chance, okay? Just don't. And then lastly is restaurant overcharging. And so here are a couple things. If you see this, tips are not included, you are at a tourist trap. Tipping is a completely and utterly different thing than it is in North America. In Canada and the United States, we generally tip percentages. That is not true in Europe as a whole, and certainly not in Italy. In Italy, it is typical if you're going to tip, you would round up maybe a little bit, or you might throw some coins, but you're trying not to be garish. It's certainly not a percentage. And nobody would ask for tips. That's just tacky. If they're asking for tips, you're not in a place where locals would be going. You could see, and these two charges are actual charges, but they could be inflated, and that's why I warn you about them. Servizio, right here. Servizio is a service charge. You might see this would be a percentage generally. It will be stated on the menu. It has to be stated somewhere, as does coperto. Coperto is a cover charge. It's the cover charge that covers your plate, your placemat, those things. And coperto is often, but you wouldn't see servizio and coperto. You would see one or the other. And like here, €2, that's €2 a person is a fair coperto. Um, this servizio, I am not sure if this was a percentage or if it says three here. I don't know if it was €2 servizio. It could have been, but just look out. Make sure that when you're entering a place, look for outrageous. €1 to €2, maybe even at a very nice restaurant, €3 a person, fine for servizio or coperto. But look for things like tips, asking for tips. Look for higher copertos where they're trying to gouge you, or higher servizio. If you see something like a 10% or 18% servizio, oh, run the other way. It's not worth it. I can pretty much guarantee that the food's not going to be that good. And so I kind of use this as another litmus test. I have all these litmus tests I've told you guys before about the kind of, what I look for in restaurants. But yeah, I use it as a litmus test. So, okay, that's my advice for avoiding getting scammed in Italy. What are yours? What kind of scams have you seen? Tell me all about it in the comments below. Have a great day and, well, ciao for now.